right, Brave Nation, what an incredible night. Brave 49 super fights lived up to the billing and more. I'm joined by Phil Campbell, Irish Thunder, and the OG of mixed martial arts, Kiriks Jenness. This is the Roaring Lion, Carlos Kremer, and we're going to give you a breakdown right now of what happened tonight in this historic evening. Phil, our main event, Luan Santiago versus Benoit, God of War, Saint-Denis, an incredible bout. Luan Santiago came in with a 15-4 record, hyped a former Brave champion, and Saint-Denis completely dominated that fight. Share your feelings about that epic battle.
As you say, Luan Miguel Santiago coming in is the former Brave Combat Federation lightweight champion of the world. He has this beautifully borderline awkward dynamic style. He keeps the hands incredibly low. His jab hand is actually below his waist. He flicks it up. He draws his opponents in to make mistakes. But in Benoit Saint-Denis, he went up against an incredibly methodical, intelligent, cerebral fighter. What he was able to do was withstand that early barrage from Luan Miguel Santiago, score the takedowns. He was incredibly close with two rear naked chokes. As my esteemed colleague Kiriks Jenness alluded to, one of those rear naked chokes was with one singular arm. It wasn't connected to anything, wasn't connected to the bicep. He didn't have a palm-to-palm grip on it. Incredibly close. But in the second round, he came out like a man possessed, scored the takedown, and the beauty of the finish was that it wasn't the conventional finish to a head-on triangle. He didn't circle around the head like most people do because he was impeded by the cage. What did he do? Showed again how cerebral he is, made the adjustments, put his knee against the hip of Luan Miguel Santiago so he couldn't turn into him, and then just used a beautiful gargantuan squeeze to elicit the tap, and in doing so becomes the #1 contender in the super lightweight division. Usually you think, great, that's me moving up the ladder, that's great for me. But in doing so, he now faces Eldar Eldarov. That's not a prize, that feels like a punishment, gentlemen.
Kirik, let's talk a little bit about his performance. I was so amazed and impressed with how calm, relaxed, and confident the God of War was inside that cage. Now we know he's not been doing MMA for that long as well. He's a scary individual, and he has an incredible fight coming up with Eldar Eldarov. Share with us your thoughts.
First, I'd like, on behalf of all of us here for Brave Combat Federation, to extend our condolences for the death, the passing of His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Deputy Ruler of Dubai and Minister of Finance. We know he is beloved, missed by all, and we do indeed extend our condolences. Having said that, I can now comfortably talk about that fight. As I said before the fight, like all sports, mixed martial arts is based on a handful of stars. Most of those stars in the long history of mixed martial arts, you probably wouldn't notice early on. If you saw an early Conor McGregor, you probably wouldn't think, he lost a couple, you wouldn't think he was going to be the next big thing. Same thing with an early Anderson Silva. I looked at Benoit Saint-Denis very early on, and there's something about him. I think he may be the next big thing, and I have to tell you, this fight solidified it for me. He did things that you don't do, that don't work. A one-arm rear naked choke does not have that effect on a fighter of the level of Miguel Santiago. It's not supposed to do that, and that arm choke is not supposed to work that way. You've got to get your whole body in there, sink the hips, move in or out. It's not supposed to work simply from a squeeze. I do believe that Benoit Saint-Denis has every appearance of being the next big thing in mixed martial arts, but we're not going to know until he fights Eldar Eldarov for the title, and that is going to be a battle for the ages.
We have to thank His Royal Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Ahmad Al Khalifa for giving this incredible platform for Brave Nation, as we all incredibly enjoyed this event. 47, 48, and now 49 have just been incredibly stellar events, each one of them getting better and better, and the super fights tonight were exactly that. These were legitimate super fights that could have been main events in any card. On Saint-Denis, I just have to say, I was shocked with how powerful and strong he is. Luan Santiago is a very strong man. He is very, very skilled, and he made him look like a lesser man tonight. It was an incredible performance. We have to jump in to our co-main event, which was, again, a complete barn burner. Absolute fire. Phil, we had Jose Shorty Torres going against Blaine O'Driscoll. 6 days notice for Blaine O'Driscoll from SBG Ireland, the legendary coach John Kavanagh. And wow, was I impressed with Blaine. Shorty started out slow once again, and Blaine was landing a lot of shots and had his way and actually took, in my judging, that first round.
I think that's fair, and it comes down to a thing in mixed martial arts. There's being fight ready and there's being in shape. Blaine O'Driscoll was not anticipating that he would have a fight. He was not 8 weeks deep into preparation, but he came in and gave an incredible account of himself. Yes, he may not have shocked the world. He may not have done a Buster Douglas. He may not have done a Matt Serra, but what he did was capture the hearts and minds of Brave Nation. He went in there. He did Ireland proud. He did himself proud. He done Coach Kavanagh proud. He done the SBG Ireland proud. And in a losing effort, which is rare, he has served to enhance his reputation as one of the premier flyweights in the world. He took it to Shorty in that first round. He really took it to Shorty. He made a fight out of that, and I think taking the fight on 6 days' notice played a part in the fight a little bit. But hey, what I would love to see is a fully fit, camped up Blaine O'Driscoll taking on any flyweight in Brave Combat Federation.
Now, Kirik, I talked to Coach Kavanagh right after the bout, and he was so proud. And he said, amazing fight for Blaine O'Driscoll. He said, imagine if he had a full camp to prepare for Shorty Torres. What were you impressed with Blaine O'Driscoll about, and what impressed you about Shorty? Because once that second round came, he started imposing his will. He's the type of fighter that almost needs to be woken up in order to get going.
Carlos, I would be remiss if I did not talk to you, Brave Nation, and say what impressed me the very most out of many things that impressed me about Shorty Torres tonight was the humility that he showed after the fight. When he was speaking with my broadcast partner, Phil Campbell, he was asked to reflect on the fight, and what did he talk about? He talked about the things that he did wrong, the things that he improved on. He said, if I don't improve, I am going to lose in this, the greatest flyweight tournament in mixed martial arts history. And that expression of character, that humility, is characteristic of the vision of Sheikh Khalid. Sheikh Khalid has a vision, and he's making it true for a form of mixed martial arts that's better than all the rest. Shorty Torres is a beautiful, sterling example of that.
Shorty Torres is one of the most real individuals I've ever met in my life. When I interviewed him and we were talking about how incredible Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa is, not only to his fighters, but to every person in this organization. He truly cares. We were talking about how he asked whether my daughter could see or not. 2 years later, he asked again, and I said, Your Highness, she is still blind. And he told me, Carlos, I want to help. This is a man that does 99.9% of his things without the world knowing. He doesn't want the fanfare. He doesn't want people to know about it. But I'll tell you what, it's what makes Brave Combat Federation different. We are a family here. And I tell you what, I am just honored to be here with you gentlemen and part of the Brave team. What did Shorty do to turn this fight around, Phil?
What Shorty did and this is a hallmark, as I said in the post-fight interview, this is a hallmark of his game. This is a hallmark of his career. He has the unique ability to get stronger as a fight progresses. He turns up the tempo as the fight progresses. He turns up the intensity, the pressure, and in doing so, by the time he gets to the third round, aesthetically, he looks fresher than he did in the first round, and fighters just don't have an antidote for that.
Now we've got to go to the middleweight bout, which was an absolute war. Ikram Aliskerov, KHK, unbelievable performance once again. I was watching this against Miro Djurkovic. He is such a scary individual to fight. He is one that is on a mission, and everybody in that middleweight division has to look out for Ikram Aliskerov. What did he do to you that impressed you tonight, or what didn't he do Because to me, he did everything right in the cage.
What he did to me was scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
That was such a methodical performance. This guy has the aesthetic of almost like a mob killer or something. He goes in, singular focused, a stoic expression, unmoved. But when he smells blood in the water, he puts an absolute beating on his opponents. He is a terrifying individual who made a record-breaking 9th appearance inside the Brave Arena. His 2nd win in a row by Kimura. He opened up a nasty cut on Miro Djurkovic, and in between rounds, referee Deggy Larkin was taking a very, very long, hard look at that cut. But knowing Miro as we do, he went in and just threw down for the sake of it. This guy loves to fight, but Ikram Aliskerov is an incredibly dangerous prospect for anybody in the middleweight division.
We have to talk about the flyweight bout. Kirik, these were two of the most hyped young phenoms that we've ever seen in the history of mixed martial arts. The best records, the best pedigree, the incredible training. Mohamed Mokaev going against Abdul Abba Hussein. And this fight did not disappoint a single person around the world. Tell us your thoughts about this fight. And I found that it was so good for Mokaev's career that he was tested this hard because Abba Hussein really brought the heat tonight.
It was an absolutely stellar example of mixed martial arts conditioning and technique. Each of them was able to shut down, at least to some extent, everything else the other fighter did. Every takedown didn't happen exactly the way the fighter wanted it. There would be a little scramble. Somebody would end up on top and immediately get reversed again. It was like something choreographed out of a mixed martial arts movie. Absolutely fantastic fight. Once again, I have to reference the matchmaking team at Brave Combat Federation. They are the best in the world. Mohamed the Hawk, Shahed, best matchmaker in the world. He is aided by Gustavo Firmino. It was just phenomenal matchmaking. When you get a talent like Mohamed the Punisher Mokaev, undefeated as an amateur, best pound-for-pound amateur in the world, wins 4 pro fights in a row. How do you find the right fighter? Do you give him somebody who's had 20 fights, who's an old grizzled veteran? Do you give him somebody who has 4 fights just like he does? They found the perfect opponent for him in Hussein. Excuse me, I'm choking. And Abdul Abba Hussein. They found the perfect opponent. And it was a perfect fight.
This fight was a perfect fight, and it was perfect for both of their careers. They're both going to go further because they fought each other this early in their pro career. We've got to move on because we had such an incredible night of so many fights. But Ganza Magomed versus Matisse Zaharafs. I mean, what a brawl that was. And Ganza refuses to lose. He has that iron will, that steel trap, that once he grabs a hold of you, he makes things happen.
He was on legitimately wobbly legs at a stage in that bout. Matisse Zaharafs caught him with some heavy shots and made a little bit of a mistake, perhaps call it youthful exuberance. He tried to take the back when he had Ganza hurt. If anything, that gave Ganza a little bit of a reprieve. He showed his incredible conditioning, brought himself back to a space where he could compete effectively, and done a wonderful job controlling Matisse Zaharafs, becoming the first man to control Matisse Zaharafs like that on the mat en route to a beautiful decision. And again, the sky really is the limit for Ganza Magomedov, but I also believe we will see Matisse Zaharafs back stronger than ever.
That was his only loss so far for Zaharov, so he's learning from that. He went against some incredible talent tonight with Magomedov. We have to close with talking really quickly about South Africa's own Chad Superman Hanekom versus Dominic Schober. Hanekom was amazing tonight. I saw at the weigh-ins, it was a different Chad Hanekom. It was a focused, it was an angry, it was a deliberate man that we didn't see in South Africa. And I told him that after the fight, but we saw the fire in his eyes tonight. When I introduced him in South Africa, he looked very relaxed. He looked very, almost like it was a training day for him. Tonight, he was staring me down and looked like he was ready to kill me and his opponent.
Absolutely. There's a lot of nicknames in mixed martial arts. I love them all. A lot of people take Pitbull just because Pitbulls are tough, and so are they. That nickname, Superman, is absolutely appropriate. To my mind, I do understand this sport intimately. I know what I'm looking at. A couple of times a year, I'll see something that blows my mind. It happens. It's not supposed to happen. In this case, it came from overwhelming strength. It came from Superman strength. Chad Hanekom, my hat goes off.
Chad Hanekom, the focused Chad Hanekom, the angry, the animal Chad Hanekom, that was brought out tonight, and he is scary for that division as well. We wanted to just say on this card, Brave 49 Super Fights, when you have a title like that for your event, you have to back that up with some incredible fights. You're taking a risk because you can't call it a super fight event if you don't have the super fights that happen. So I wanted to say, Mohamed Shahid and Gustavo Firmino, I told Gustavo after the show, I said, you both are not just moving up and people are noticing what kind of matchmakers you are. You're moving into legendary status. You're moving into a place where people don't go. And it is incredible that every event has gotten better and better and better. And each event has been a 99 out of 100. They've knocked it out of the park. And we have Brave 50 coming up, which is going to be even more insane. Phil, let's talk really quick about Brave 50 coming up. I get goosebumps already. We have so many stars on that card. We have 3 title fights. We've got the flyweight tournament that's moving on in the greatest flyweight tournament in the history of our sport. I want to talk really quickly about Mohamed Fakhradin, hands down the toughest gentleman I've ever met in my life. His home was burned in the Beirut bombing. He had to move. He had to move his family. He had nowhere to train. He had no training partners. This man just keeps moving forward and shows that if you have the heart and you have the will, that you can be a champion. And he gives hope not only for the people of Lebanon, but for the entire world to see.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. And as commentators, we're meant to be unbiased. We're not meant to have favourites. But how can you watch a Mohamed Fakhradin fight and not become a fan? How can you have a conversation with this man and not just find yourself enraptured in his entire story, his enthusiasm for the sport, his love of his country, Lebanon, and what he is attempting to do at Brave Combat Federation 50 is make history. He is attempting to become the first ever champ in the history of Brave Combat Federation. He is already the middleweight champion in taking on Mohammed Saeed Malem. He has the potential to become the light heavyweight champion. If he is to succeed in do that, he writes his name into the history book as not merely a great fighter. He has the rare distinction of becoming a legend. He has the rare distinction of making his name immortal in the hearts and minds of the global MMA fans.
He's the biggest star in Arab history. He is right up there with the hugest stars in the world. The world is just now finding out about him all over the place. I wanted to talk, Kirik, about another title fight with Jira Al-Salawi. I know that we all get excited when the lion comes into effect, and this man always is ready. He always baffles us with how incredibly tough and consistent his performances are, night in and night out. Share your thoughts about Salawi's fight coming up at Brave 50.
Absolutely. Jira Al-Salawi is one of the finest fighters in the world, and equally important to me, he is an absolutely stellar human being. He is a fine person. He is an inspiration to people all over the world. And it once again, night after night here, I've been so proud to call these fights. But I want to talk about the progression that we saw here. We had 4 fights in 21 days here in Kombat Kingdom. The first one, Asian Domination, was a little bit of a warm-up. When I looked at it on paper, I'm like, hey, great card. We're going to have a lot of fun. What happened blew my mind. There was viral finish after viral finish. And in my head, I said, this is not going to get topped. Like, we had a little bit of bad luck because we're trying to build up to 50 and it won't be topped. What happened? Brave Combat Federation 48, Arabian Night. What we got to see in Arabian Night was the pride of the Arab people. That pride cannot be stopped. 2 men with immense, unstoppable pride coming together. It produced a card that was even better. And then we had tonight, and it happened again. The super fights are even better. What's coming up? 50. It's going to be the best card in Brave Combat Federation history.
I can't believe how far we've come and how little time. I mean, coming from Brave 1 all the way up to Brave 50.
Wow.
This is a monumental night coming up. This is a night that just shows the reflection of an organization that is all for fighters. It is fighters for fighters, as Kirik had mentioned before. It is different than any other organization I've ever seen because they understand the struggle, the sacrifice, and the work ethic that these fighters go through, the immense sacrifice that they have to go through, Phil. And it's just a pleasure to see as we build up to 50 and we talk a little bit about this flyweight tournament that we have continuing at Brave 50, our historic night.
The flyweight tournament in Brave Combat Federation is unquestionably the most prestigious flyweight tournament in the history of the sport. We're going to see Ali Bagotinov take on Dustin Ortiz. That is two hard-nosed, grizzled veterans. I cannot wait to see who is the winner of that fight. I know Shorty Torres is keeping a particularly close eye on that fight. On the other end of the spectrum in the flyweight tournament, you have Zach Makovsky taking on Veli Murad Alkazov. That's a rematch from back in January of 2020, I believe. That fight ended by a split decision. Alkazov is coming for blood in this fight. Makovsky is looking to cement his status as one of the premier flyweights. But Carlos, what I want to talk about is the fact that in just 4.5 short years, Brave Combat Federation has cemented their position as the only truly global mixed martial arts promotion in the world. We are all incredibly proud, incredibly grateful to be a part of Brave Combat Federation, and long may it continue. I'm excited for Brave 100.
You know what? That is definitely in the focus for the immediate future. We just keep rolling with amazing events. Each card gets better and better. There's no way that we think after each event that next event will get better, and it simply does. We have to give props to the entire Brave family, as well as Brave Nation, for following Brave, for being there in support, and giving everybody that guiding light that we all need. I'm so impressed with what Brave has done because, Kirik, they brand their fighters like no one else in the world. They are selfless. They put up video after video. Our video team is working 24/7. Our social media team works 24/7. And when I say that, I really mean that because they will work a 20-hour day, spend the night in the KHK office, and then go back to work again. So their families are understanding. We're putting all of this on hold because we all believe in the mission and the vision of His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Ahmad Al Khalifa. And to see it come to fruition, Kirik, is just unbelievably outstanding.
I am rarely at a lack for words. Perhaps I'm never at a lack for words. But Carlos Kremer, you just channeled me. That is exactly what I'm feeling.
It really does hit your soul. It hits your heart. Phil, coming into this historic Brave 50, what's going through your mind and how proud are you to be a part? We're a small part of this incredible organization, and we give our heart and soul every day in and out, no matter what's asked of us, but the entire team does 24/7, and it is just so gratifying to be part of making history and changing the landscape of mixed martial arts worldwide and making the Kingdom of Bahrain the epicenter for mixed martial arts and combat sports.
You've been here pretty much from the outset. You're part of the furniture now with Brave Combat Federation. Brave 1, you've been here. I've been here from Brave 16 and haven't missed an event since, and watching how the organization has grown from strength to strength. The fighters that they don't just take the cast-off fighters, they build stars. That's what I love about Brave Combat Federation. They will invest in a young fighter and really grow that fighter, really let their star rise within the organization. But getting back to Brave 50, look at the caliber of fighters we have on this. We have Jira Al-Salawi, we have Ismail Nordev, we have Mohamed Fakhradin, we have Amin Ayub, we have Maciej Gorszewski, Isa Isakov, Anton Turkali, Kevin Ruart, Louis Gleesman, Shoaib Youssef. We have quite literally the best fighters in the world coming together for one night of magic for your entertainment, Brave Nation. This is going to be an epic night of fights. I'll be there, Carlos Kremer will be there, Kiriks Jenness will be there. Genuinely, we cannot wait. This will be epic. This will be one of those nights that you can say, yes, I watched that. This will be like the moon landing. I was there, I watched that, I was part of history. I cannot wait to be a part of that history.
That's right, and for all the fighters out there in the world, you don't have to be the most popular fighter. You don't have to have even the best record. But if you have the heart of a lion, if you have the desire and the talent and the ability, we're going to find you. Mohamed Shahid and Gustavo Firmino are all over the globe. We are searching and we are looking for those Rocky stories, those stories of guys that don't have the proper training, tools, whatever, and they make it happen. We are so honored that we're going to have Brave 50 right here in 1 week. I can't wait. Brave Nation, once again, you are the big winner because we all are making history together. For the Roaring Lion, Carlos Kremer, Phil Campbell, and Kiriks Jenness, we are signing out from the historic Brave 49 Super Fights. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week for our historic Brave 50, making history once again.